Joseph awakened in the morning to kisses. His spouse Emma sat next to him in bed and softly smiled. She greeted him with a good morning's greeting. Joseph sat up in bed, twisted, and drew Emma to him. Today was supposed to be a hectic day. After driving to work, Joseph had to drive Emma to the train station in the morning and meet some friends in the evening. Please notify me when you will return. We have a business meeting today, an acquaintance, and a conference tomorrow, said the wife, packing the remaining items for the trip, despite the fact that she was just traveling to a neighboring town for a few days. The suitcase was stuffed with clothes and shoes. Parting was difficult for Joseph and made him uneasy. I'm going to miss you. Emma approached him from behind, wrapped her arms around him, and rubbed her nose on his neck. Driving to the train station. Goodbye, job. The day passed in an instant. The phone was buzzing and flashing because Emma had sent me social media messages and images. One photo shows the view from the window. Another shot was of a restaurant where she and her coworkers had lunch. Joseph knew exactly where she was going to dine, what street her hotel was on, and where the conference for which her employer had planned this trip would be placed. Joseph was on his way to a social gathering with pals. The phone flickered again and issued a brief beep at that point. Emma texted that she had arrived at the hotel and was exhausted, so she was going to bed and shutting off her phone. Joseph returned her nice message, said goodnight, and slipped the phone into his pocket. Lucas, Matthew, and Ryan were already waiting at the bar's door. One by one, everyone shook hands. How are you doing, Joseph? Today, you're finally free of your wife's restraints, Ryan inquired, and the entire company chuckled. Unlike Joseph, the guys were all free. They took a seat at the bar and ordered a drink. Give us a grin, Joseph. We haven't seen each other in 100 years, yet you sit there with a mournful look, as if at a funeral. Lucas chastised his pal. I'm driving, so I won't be drinking. I miss Emma. We should have taken the weekend off and gone together instead. The companions exchanged glances and moaned simultaneously. You're so dull. After sitting for another 15 minutes, Joseph decided to drive to the other town where Emma was and surprise her. After saying goodbye to his buddies, he caught a cab and returned home to his car parked in the driveway. Joseph got behind the wheel of his own car and, as if on wings, flew to meet Emma. He was 120 miles away from her. As he reached the city, the man drove down the deserted highway where signs flashed on the side. Joseph slowed down and switched on the navigator, noting the hotel where his wife was staying. In 50 meters, turn left. The navigator replied in a robotic female voice, end point. Joseph found himself in front of an opulent hotel in the city center. At the reception counter, he was greeted by a cheerful young lady. Good evening, how can I assist you? She inquired gently. Allison was written on her chest. Joseph spoke to her. I came to surprise my wife. She'll be in room 215. Please give me the name of your wife, and we'll compare notes. She laughed. Joseph provided his wife's maiden and surname. In a focused manner, the receptionist typed something on the computer. I apologize. I don't want to bother you, but there's a completely different person living in this room. No one with this information is registered at our hotel. I apologize. Joseph turned pale and felt the earth sliding from beneath his feet. Grabbing the counter to keep himself from falling due to his dizziness, Joseph said, What do you mean no one is registered? Check their names as well. And he mentioned 3 additional workers who were meant to accompany Emma to this meeting. No, there isn't anyone. Allison responded again, this time with grief in her eyes. Joseph stepped outdoors on cotton legs and stood for a little longer, leaning against the railing and inhaling in the night air. There was a nightclub nearby, and the music sounded tempting. Joseph dialed Emma's phone again and again, but all he heard were beeps and voicemail. What should I do now? Return home and wait. Emma would return in 3 days, and Joseph would take her out to chat, telling her he knew everything and demanding an answer. He then remembered that a couple of years earlier, when he initially gave Emma a new phone, he installed a program that followed him in case his wife misplaced or stole it. Finally, Joseph got into his car and launched the app on his phone. When it eventually loaded, Joseph clicked on the appropriate icon, and a beacon and an address showed on the screen a few seconds later. The address in the app was a nightclub, so Joseph entered by throwing money on the counter to the receptionist. A mob gathered around him, dancing merrily. Looking around, he didn't spot any recognizable faces on the bar, which was filled with intoxicated and joyful young men and women. Music was blasting from the speakers, and his heart was racing. Joseph saw his wife sitting on a bar stool. He started to move through the crowd to where Emma was sitting. She was wearing a brightly colored dress, one strap falling off Emma's thin shoulder. She sat at the counter, her legs extended as much as her clothing would allow. A man unfamiliar to Joseph was sitting right in front of her. Emma smiled at him, and the man stroked her thighs and looked at her lustfully. The woman leaned forward and kissed him. Their kiss lingered for a long time. To Joseph, it seemed like an eternity. Emma looked up as she stepped away from the man and noticed her husband. She flew up to him. Her face was filled with a variety of emotions, and tears welled up in her eyes. Emma's lips was covered with the palm of her hand. Her eyes welled up as tears streamed down her face. Joseph looked at her and couldn't believe that just this morning he had sent her here to her lover himself. Emma extended her arms towards him, attempting to touch him. Joseph recoiled and then, without thinking, seized her by the shoulders and shook her. Why? He turned and walked away without waiting for an answer. He decided to go home. Joseph turned on the music and fell into deep thought as he drove out of town, stepping on the gas pedal. He couldn't believe his beloved wife, Emma, had deceived him in such a way. Joseph grabbed all of her belongings the next morning. He gathered all of the items he had given her and all of the things she had given him. His wife's favorite novels to read in the evenings after work. Everything ended placed in a large box labeled junk. The first thing he noticed as he went downstairs and opened the door to the street was Emma. A car was parked a little farther away, and in the driver's seat sat the man from the club she had kissed so passionately tonight. They locked their gazes on one another for a moment. Emma clutched her purse in her hands and Joseph held the packages. Take your trash and get yourself out. The box was thrown at the woman's feet by Joseph. Things were strewn about and lace knickers was left on the pavement near her feet. Emma began to pack up all of her things, and Joseph returned to the flat, closing the door behind him with a new lightness he had not before experienced. He felt considerably better after releasing the enormous weight. The ex-wife wasted no time in moving her belongings to her lover's rented apartment the same day. She had no intention of remarrying. She didn't want to scare the man away, so they lived together for about 6 months, until her boyfriend started treating Emma like a servant without gratitude or compliments. She tried to bring the same warmth to the relationship that she had with her ex-husband, but this man was different. He was only interested in getting without giving anything in return. Then he started raising his hand to her, and Emma no longer felt comfortable in short skirts and revealing clothing. She tried to hide her bruises from others. Upon hearing Joseph's accusations, mutual acquaintances had already turned against Emma. They did not understand for what she gave up her beautiful marriage. When after another quarrel she went to the hospital, her parents took her to themselves. Throughout her rehabilitation, she sobbed constantly. She finally realized that she had made one of the worst mistakes of her life. Thank you for listening to the story to the end, and if you like it, please support us with a like as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you think about the story.